Hey guys, I'm going to start pretty soon. I'm looking for a picture that I could use tonight to talk to you guys about something. Trying to find a picture of a tree I bought and explain how I got this wood tonight. I don't know if I have it on my phone anymore. Don't know. I don't think so. All right. One more minute and then we'll go ahead and get started. Yeah, I don't have my picture I wanted to show you guys, so I have to go without it. Oh, how's everyone doing surviving this quarantine? You guys having fun? Everyone day drinking and everyone finding little projects to do? About a minute yet, and then we'll go ahead and get started. I want to show you the piece of wood that broke my bandsaw blade. Not just one blade, it broke two blades. You would think I would know that if there was one nail in it, there was probably a second one. And there was. And I snapped my other bandsaw blade. Brand new. 5 minutes. I had it on the bandsaw and it broke. Ah, so frustrating. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. So tonight, I am going to be turning this cherry burl. Now, I'm going to hold this up so you guys can see what it looks like. There's just a lot of really cool figure in this piece of cherry burl. And there are these things here are called bark inclusions, which means there was bark on this side of the wood that grew into the wood. So as I turn this, there may be a hole here, a hole here, a hole here. There's some bark up there, bark up there. But look at all that figure right there, all that curl. This is going to be a beautiful piece of wood. Although, on the bottom, I have some problems. So this is a piece of wood that's going to be kind of hard to turn. This piece right here is going to fly out. So this is a small piece of wood around a branch or a knot. As I turn this, this is just going to fly out. And I also discovered there's a hole here. There was some bark, and I started picking at the bark. And I found out that there is a huge hole that goes from there over to here. So right here is the other end of that hole. So this is going to be the bottom of the bowl, and I may be able to turn that out, but there should be a hole, because I can put my finger in pretty far. So this hole, I don't know where the hole is in here. My finger goes in about that far. So around this area, there could be a really big hole in the bottom of the bowl, which is going to be interesting. Hey, Jessica. So you guys will get to see some of the tricks I use. The nice thing I like about this piece too is, oh, there's that one piece that's going to fly out. Here's another piece that's going to fly out. So this piece is really, really interesting because not only does it have all that figure, but on the inside, we should see some feathering because here was one branch coming out and here was another branch coming out. So if there is wood inside here, which we don't know yet because of the hole, there would be feathering right around this area, which kind of looks like wood that's spread apart, which is going to be really cool if there is wood. So I don't know what's going to happen to this bowl. I don't know if this is going to survive or not. I would show you the sides of the bowl, but it is all burnt up because I have a bandsaw story to tell you guys. So on my Facebook post the other day, I talked about breaking a bandsaw blade. I was cutting this piece of wood. This is hard maple, and you could tell that there's a lot of color in this hard maple. So there's some brown, some black. Then right over here, there's a whole bunch of curl, a lot of figure. So I really wanted to save this piece of hard maple. However, as I was turning it, sparks flew out of my bandsaw. And I was really worried because when sparks fly out of a bandsaw, that is not a good thing. So it either means that the blade is rubbing against something inside, the blade's ready to break, or you hit something in metal in the wood. So I was hoping it was just something metal in the wood, small enough that I could cut right through it. However, it wasn't. It was a huge screw. The screw was probably about that long when I pulled it out. And the bandsaw blade didn't even hurt the screw. It was one of those, like a concrete screw where you screw it into concrete and it survives everything. Well, that's what it was. Stuck into a tree. And I took that bandsaw blade off. And I'm thinking to myself, I took the bandsaw blade off, I could put another bandsaw blade on it and finish cutting. Now you would think that if there was one screw in the wood, that I would have known to myself and said, hey Dave, there might be another screw in that wood. You better be careful because you might break another bandsaw blade. And then I'm like, nah, I think I got it. Well, wouldn't you know, there was another screw in that bandsaw blade. And this time I cut through it. So right here is the other screw that is somewhere deep in here. I don't even know how far it is. I cut right through it, but I ruined my other bandsaw blade. So right now I have a bandsaw and there's no blades on it because they are all bad. I have one bandsaw blade back here, which I use as a backup, but it's really thin and I can't use it to cut really thick pieces of wood. So then I just powered through it and burnt the wood all around the outside. But this is going to be a bowl eventually. And I have another piece. I don't think I have it here. Oh, the other piece is over here, which will give you a good idea of what the coloring is in the wood. So this will be the second bowl from that piece, but look at all that color in that maple. It is really awesome. That's the back of it, and that's not good because that's my burnt bandsaw. So eventually, when I get new bandsaw blades, which are on order, I will go ahead and finish cutting that and be able to make this piece of wood, which will be next. Although, when my tools hit this, I'm going to have to resharpen all my tools. So I may try and dig that out before I do it. But that's my little bandsaw broken blade 2 in 20 minutes that I broke. Which I hate because they're like 20 bucks a piece. So before I started this cherry today, I was playing with this piece of wood. This is spalted beech. So I'm starting this bowl. And eventually maybe I'll finish this one tomorrow. But look at that. That is awesome. And then you have this really nice wood. And this is the top of it. So you'll see all that spalting, all the colors. And then this is the bottom. So this bowl will be for sale eventually once I finish it. So maybe I'll finish it tonight after this video. Most likely tomorrow. And then if you're following me on Facebook, you will see that I did something really interesting today. This is a cherry bowl I did, but I turned it really super thin. So look at how thin that is. And if you guys didn't get a chance to see how thick that is, I'm going to hold this tape up so you guys can see how thin that is in millimeters. Let me turn this upside down. So normally when I turn my bowls, I turn them about 1/4 of an inch thick. But in this case, I turned it about 2 millimeters thick. Now, Dave, why would you do a bowl so thin? Because what I'm going to do with this bowl is I'm going to poke a design through the top of the bowl. I've always wanted to do one of those. I never got a chance to do it. And I had some extra time today and had this little piece of cherry. So I'm going to poke a design around maybe about an inch through the top, going all the way around. So it'll be the first time I've ever done one of those, and kind of interesting to see how it works. I've never done it, so there's going to be a lot of trial and error, and we'll see how it goes. So once I poke this through, there's no random, it's just going to be a random design. I don't know what design I'm going to use. It'll be like little holes and little curves and things like that. So then this ball may be for sale. I don't know. It depends if it survives. Since I've never pierced a bowl before, who knows? It could break. But that was kind of interesting, turning a bowl this thin. And it is 2 millimeters, probably about down to here. So this whole section is about 2 millimeters thick, which is interesting. All right, but today you are all here, hopefully, to see me turn this. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I don't know if this bowl is going to survive because of these two pieces here flying out. It'll be an adventure. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys, I was looking for a picture because I got to tell you the story about this piece of cherry. So there's a tree in my old house where I used to live in Arbor Rose Estates. I used to drive by this house that had this old dying cherry tree in the front yard. And this tree, when I saw it, was probably about, I'll say about 6 foot tall, maybe about my height, maybe a little bit taller than that. And the first year I saw it, there was just one branch on it that had any green on it. Everything else was dead. And then as I drove by, I saw more and more of this tree was starting to die. But on the outside of this tree, it was covered in burls. Now, if you don't know what a burl is, if you've ever seen a tree that has a bump on the side, and it has, it kind of looks like a pregnant tree, or it has a lot of warts around the outside, those are burls. And burls give you all this figure inside the wood. It's never straight figure. It's all curly and it's all wavy, and you can't predict what it is. So burls are usually like really, really expensive to buy. And you don't really find big burls that are, you know, for me, worth buying, because once you cut into the burl, it could be empty on the inside. You don't know. You take that risk. So anyway, I got the courage after 4 years to walk up to this house, knock on the door, and offer to buy the tree in their front yard. And I was the first person that actually went up there and offered to buy this tree. So I told them that if they ever wanted to cut the tree down, I would pay to have the tree cut and then taken off their property, and then actually bring it to my house and put it in my driveway. And they agreed. So they told me 6 months later, they got back in touch with me and said that after I got in touch with them, 7 other woodworkers knocked on their door and asked if they could buy that tree. But I was the first one that went there, and I paid them $100. And I paid a tree company, Timbers Tree, to cut the tree down and then put it on their truck and just drive it to my place and plop it in my driveway. Hi, Joel. And so I got this cherry tree that was covered in burl, and when I cut into it, the inside was hollow. Oh, it was horrible. So I was expecting the whole tree, and it was probably, I don't know, about this, I can't show you on, about this wide, and it was burl the whole way from the ground 6 feet up. So I was expecting that I could probably make, I don't know, 50 or 60 bowls out of it. And I ended up only being able to make about 20 bowls out of it because the inside was all rotten. But this is one of the last pieces from that tree. Now, the bowls I made have easily paid off that tree. Now, I have another tree that I'm looking at. If you go down Route 230, there's a farm outside of Mount Joy, and there's a tree that has a whole bunch of little burls on it. And I wanted to go by that tree, and I was going to knock on their door this week, but with all the storms, a huge branch fell off that tree, and I saw the inside was rotten. So I'm not going to buy that tree. But I do go out and look for trees that I could buy, and I'm willing to pay for a tree and have it removed if it's worth it for me to go ahead and do that. So that was one of the... I wanted to show you a picture of it. Maybe I'll put a picture on it if I can find one. When I show you guys what this bowl looks like with the all sexy pictures when they're all in that white background. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And we're going to go ahead and see what we could do to this piece of cherry burl. All right. I'm going to get my mask on. All right, let's get this show on the road. I don't know if you guys saw those big chunks flying off, but at least one of those flew off. Well, actually, they didn't. That was this hole that I talked about. So remember that little itty-bitty hole I showed you? Now that hole is... oh, man. This is going to be fun. 3 inches by 2.5 inches. And I can put my finger into the first knuckle here, and it still goes further. This is going to be interesting. Oh, I forgot to give you guys the dimensions of this. This is about 9 3/4 inches by 3.5. So if it survives, it's going to make a really, really nice salad bowl or something. I could see the curl right here in the wood. I don't know if you guys can see it. Maybe I'll put this light on so you guys can see it. Can you guys see it? You probably can't see it. So I'll hold it up after I'm done with the sanding. So this bowl is going to have a really big hole on the bottom. This whole section may break off. I'm trying to figure out if I can save it. So we'll see when and there's a big crack here. Whoa. Big crack that goes all the way. I don't know, maybe this bowl's not going to survive by the time we're done. Oh boy. All right. So we will see. If this bowl's going to survive, I'll tell you in the next couple of minutes after I at least round out the top here to see how much is going to be held together. All right. Oh boy. Another big piece flew off. So there's a huge chunk that flew off, but the figuring is so wonderful. All right, I got to finish rounding off a little bit more. Then I'm going to go ahead and sand it and show you guys. It is, wow. It's really, I mean, I don't say wow about a lot of wood, but this is like, wow. All right. All right, I think it's round enough that I could go ahead and sand. Okay, so far I see a lot of curl in this section right here. There's bark inclusions. I'll show them to you when I pull them off, but these are probably going to be, I'm going to pop them out. So there are going to be some holes. There'll be a hole here, little holes here. Really, really nice curl figure. A little worried about this big crack though. And a little worried about this big hole. So we're going to go ahead and see. Let's see if there's a question. What made you decide to put the hole at the bottom? Good question. I think I put the hole at the bottom because I would rather have it as an interesting feature on the bottom, because I love doing bowls and having holes in the bowls. It's kind of like a signature thing that I do. So I think it's going to be a really nice, it's a really good conversation starter for shows. And people always ask, how did you do that with a hole in it? So you guys are actually going to be one of the first ones that actually see how I do bowls with holes in them, because I don't really show a lot of people how I do it, because it's really dangerous. But we're going to go ahead and start sanding this to start finishing it. Yeah, sanding by hand is not going to work. My fingers hurt already. So I'm going to go ahead and sand this with my sander and see if I can get it any better than what it looks like right now. I'm going to go through some grits. I'm going to start at 120 and then go to 150 and up to 200, at least with this sander. Let's see, 120. Start with that, then go to 150. Oh, missing my sandpaper. I am so unorganized tonight. 220. I'm missing my 150 grit sandpaper. Let's try this. There we go. Here's 150. Yeah, you probably shouldn't do that with a with a rotary sander. I'm gonna burn out my motor. All right, so that was 120, and that got all the scuff marks out. So I'm gonna go ahead and sand this to 220, put some oil on it, and then show it to you, because make sure you're sitting down when I show it to you. It's gonna be beautiful. I mean, I really scored when I bought this tree, because all the wood in this tree, even though it was just a little bit of wood left, has been beautiful. So I gotta tell you another story. I have a lot of shirts like this that have holes in it. And my wife always asks me, why do you have all these shirts with these holes in it? And I feel embarrassed to say it's because every time I pull the sander off as it's running, it hits me in the shirt and it makes this big hole. So I have about 10 shirts like this. I only wear them in my workshop now. I wear them in the public sometimes, but my wife yells at me when I do that. Okay, so that was 150. We're going to do 220, and then I'm going to oil it up and show you guys all the figure that's in this. Alright, let me hit this with some 320 and 500 while it's running, and then I'll put some oil on it. Just going to hit some spots. You guys see the shine on that bowl? Yeah, turn it off that way. Let me just touch some of this up. Wow, that really shined it up. All right, let me hit it with 500, and then I want to make sure you guys are sitting down when I show you what this bowl looks like on the outside. So I'm going to use some teak oil because it's cherry and it's lighter wood, so I like to use teak oil for that. All right, I'm just going to polish it up a little bit. And make sure you're sitting down, I'm telling you, when you see this. If you're not sitting down, you might faint because it's so beautiful. Oh, I gotta fix the bottom first. Let me fix the bottom so I can flip it around. Then I'll pull it off and show you. So I'm giving you guys a chance to find a seat. Alright, you guys ready for this? Is everybody sitting down? Bennett, are you sitting down? Alright. So I was explaining what the wood looked like because you guys couldn't see it that well from that angle. But I'm going to hold up and show you what this wood looks like. Let me just go ahead and take this off so it's easier, a little bit lighter for me to use. Whoa, what's going on there? Oh, my cord's caught. All right. Let me just fix this. Okay, so here we go. This is what you've all been waiting for, or at least I've been telling you you've been waiting for. So make sure you're sitting down. Okay, so there was a chunk that flew off there, but look at the wood underneath that chunk. Look at how bumpy it is. So that could be something called quilt, which I haven't shown you yet. So we'll see if that shows up. But here is the curl on that. Let me see if this light will help out a little bit more. Nope. Okay. So here's the curl. Kind of tough to see, but I'll hold it up like this. So look at that figure in the wood. See how that wood grain goes opposite? This is the grain right here, but see how this goes opposite? That's curl. And that goes the whole way through. And you have this big crack, which I'm worried about. But there's a lot more curl right there. You see that? Woo! Look at that. There's a big curl right there. And then you have all this swirly figure over here. Not quite curl. I think this is more of the quilt that's going to be coming through. And then right here, all that figure. Nice. So we're going to go ahead and flip this around and start working on the inside. So this is where I'm worried, because this hole right here, this big 3 by 2 inch hole that I could put my finger into, goes into the middle of the wood. So I am trying to figure out if this bowl is going to fly apart on me or not. Because I'm worried about the big crack right there. I can manage that big crack. I think this is going to split open a little bit more as I turn it. Little worried about the hole. The bark inclusions I'm not worried about. So I'm going to show you guys a trick that I use to make sure the bowl does not fly apart. But look at that shine. Woo! That's just from sanding and a little bit of oil. I didn't even put any wax on it yet. So it's smooth as a baby's bottom. All right. So let me get this on here, and then I will show you my super secret trick that no one else has seen live. I've only talked about it. If you guys are really familiar with the internet, I go on a website called Reddit, and I'm in the turning group, and I have explained this technique to people, and they've tried it, and they said it works, and they love it. All right. Okay, so here's my technique. Blue painter's tape. Blue painter's tape is great. Yuck. Wood chips. Because it does not leave a residue if you put it on bowls or walls. And if I wrap a bowl in blue painter's tape, it provides enough force, if I wrap it tightly, to keep the bowl from flying apart. So in this case, since this is a really big bowl, I have to put a lot of tape on it. So we're going to see if this painter's tape actually will hold. Sometimes it does, sometimes it does not. So I'm going to wrap the entire side almost in painter's tape, hoping that the force of the painter's tape will keep this bowl from splitting apart. And I'm at the end of that roll, so that'll be enough. I have 4 more rolls to use. I buy a lot of painter's tape. Okay, so there should be enough force in this that if the bowl starts to crack, that the tape will at least hold it together so it doesn't fly way across the garage or fly and hit me. And if this hole that I talked about in the bottom goes through the wood and I can't see where the bottom of the bowl is, this painter's tape will actually give me a fake wall. So as I'm turning, it'll look like there's a wall of wood there, so I could at least see where my tools are. So we're going to go ahead and start the inside, and cross your fingers, I have to manually do it, that this bowl will survive. All right, is that in the center? Because I know this moved a little bit. All right, that's good. All right, now we get the big guns out, big tools. Okay, when you have a bowl like this with holes in it, it's always good to kind of stop in the middle and see what's going on. So remember that hole I talked about in the on the back? I think it's coming out here. So the hole is in the back, it's over here, but it's coming out over here. So it's kind of a diagonal hole. At least that's what I think it is. I can't tell because I can't get my finger far enough and it's too dark to look in. But here is where the hole actually is in the back. So we could have a huge void right here, which I like, but not my wife doesn't like those. She likes nice smooth bowls. I like all the rickety and holy bowls and everything. So I also see a huge crack right here. And that is not the same crack that's on the back. This is a fun thing about doing bowls because you never know what the wood's going to look like on the inside. So we're going to go ahead and keep going on with this. I might stop at another time and take a look at it. If I start to see more brown as I'm turning instead of cream, then it means this hole is opening up. So if you guys see that, when you're watching it, it should look mostly cream, but when you start seeing the dark brown, then you'll see that this hole right here is opening up. So I'll stop the lathe and we'll see if I'm right. Okay, you guys see this dark circle right here that I'm highlighting? I think that's a hole. And this area right here, I'm going to highlight. I think that's where the other hole is, and I think there's a new one that opened up right about there. So we're going to go ahead and stop the lathe and see if I'm right. I could be wrong, but we'll see. Huh, look at that. Okay, so here is, remember that hole that started to open up? There was the hole, there was the crack. It looks like they're going to join. That's not a good thing, people. That means that this wood is really weak right here, depending how far it goes. I'm trying to look in the bottom and see if I could see. They don't. Yeah, it does look like they do connect. So we will see if this weakening of the wood is going to fly apart. Here's a crack that's going to start to open up. It's not connected to the crack in the back. So again, I don't know if this is going to survive. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we went down about a 1/2 of an inch. So we're going to go down maybe another 1/2 of an inch and see if these actually do connect and how deep they go. It could be that this is just a little bit of bark and then it ends and it goes to solid wood. But I'm not very hopeful about that. So we'll see what happens. This is a point when you're turning wood on whether you say, should I keep going or should I not keep going? But we're going to keep going because I'm adventurous and I like doing this kind of stuff. Okay, so my tools are jumping around a lot, which means that there's more bark in here than I thought. So let's take a look at it now that we went down another ½ an inch or so. Yeah, look at that. this is opening up to being something. So the hole that I showed you before was there. This is the hole from the back. So the hole from the back went here and then stretched all the way over here. And it's really just bark. So in a burl, the tree somehow thinks it's wounded, whether it's a virus, whether it's bug infection, whether, I don't know, it could be anything. And then the tree heals itself by growing over. It's kind of like what we do with scabs. So, yeah, that's what the tree did. There was bark in here. The tree didn't like it and grew over that bark. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut right through it. And I don't think it's going to blow apart. I think there's enough wood here and enough wood here that it's going to hold together pretty well. And I'm going to actually put a little more tape on the outside just to make sure that it does stay together. Sometimes if I don't think blue tape is going to hold it, I used to have duct tape. I ran out of it, but I'll put blue tape on and then I'll put duct tape on the outside. And that'll help hold it together even better. But I think the blue tape's going to hold. I have enough on here pretty well. Okay, so I'm going to start working now on going down the sides and trying to get a little thinner. I don't want to go really too thin on this ball because of all the inclusions and all the holes. But we'll see, because I went really thin on this one earlier, so I will see how thin I can go on this one. Can you guys see through the bottom of the bowl? I can. Right up, let me show you with my tool. I almost put my finger in there. So right here, can you guys see through the bottom of the bowl? I don't know, you can't see my hand. I can see through the bottom of the bowl, which means that I just went to where the hole is. So as I spin this, now can you see the bottom? Right here, you can see through the bottom of the bowl. So right here is my finger. Look at that. So we went through the bottom of the bowl. Well, I mean, we didn't go through the bottom of the bowl. I went to the bark that was holding that hole on the outside. I actually still have another probably inch and a half to go through the bottom. So this is when I have blue painter's tape on the outside It helps me see the walls. Now that I don't have anything in the bottom, as I keep turning, I think this whole piece right here might fly out. We'll see. We don't know what's going to happen, so we'll see. But I'm going to start working again more on the sides. I'm going to switch some tools here and see how much of this holds together. This is a fun part where we get to see what's going to happen now. That's dull. Let's see. Where's my other tool? There it is. Okay, I'm going to bring my light down a little bit. I need some more light on the inside. Okay, now as you can see, as I get closer to the bottom, I can really put my fingers through this. So my finger goes in here, and then it can go in over here and over here. So there's this real nice big crack along the bottom. I like it. So this would not be good for soup. Would not be good for anything liquid, but it'd be great for fruit, as long as you're bigger than grapes. Maybe not so great for popcorn. Popcorn would fall through. Okay, so I have about, I'd say 3/4 of an inch to the bottom. I have to be careful now when I use my tools, because my tools are going to start to catch on this hole and then put big divots in. But I have a nice side up here. I just want to thin it out a little bit more on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and switch tools, use a different one, and see if I could thin it out a little bit more. I don't want to go too thin like I said, but I do want it a little bit thicker than 3/4 of an inch. I don't know if you guys can see this. See this curl right here? I don't know if you can, might be too far away. I have to bring it closer. A lot of curl in here. A lot of curl right here. It's a little bit of quilt right there. So yeah. All right, I'm gonna turn it up a little bit too. Go faster. Oh, okay, I gotta move my tool rest a little bit closer. As I'm getting deeper to the bottom, my tool's bumping around too much. And there's so much figure in it, it's hard to get a good cut. So I have about, I don't know, half an inch on the bottom. And I'm smoothing out the sides. Yeah, this is gonna be a beautiful bowl. I'm gambling here if I go any deeper. So I think I'm gonna end the cut. I don't know, my tool is bouncing around, and I don't know if you can hear it on the video, but there's this weird hum when I'm turning the bowl because of the air that's coming through here. I hear this as I'm turning, which is, you don't normally hear that when you turn bowls. So this bowl right now is about, let me see how thick it is. It's probably a good thickness actually for this bowl. So let's see, it is about just over 1/4 of an inch thick. So I think that's a good good size for this bowl. I could go probably a little bit thinner, but that crack on the bottom that I told you about is just starting to show here. So I don't want to go too much deeper because then I'll open up that crack, and that crack goes from here all the way over. It starts all the way up here, all the way over to here. So I don't think I want to open it up anymore, and I think this hole is good enough. I'm going to end up picking out this bark that's still in here and picking out some of this bark. Now comes the hard part, is sanding it with that hole in the middle. So let me, can you guys, it's too bright. Let me take this off and show you what it looks like before I put the oil and sand on it, just so you guys can see what I was talking about. Okay, so this is the inside of the bowl now. So there's the hole that I had talked about on the bottom. So you can see in the bottom how big that hole got and how it actually goes all the way over to here. And on the inside, it's the same thing. So there's the big hole, and then it goes all the way over to here. A lot of this brown stuff on the side is just bark. So I can take a pick tool. I just use these little pick tools, and I'll pick out the bark because eventually it's going to fall out anyway, so I'd rather pick it out now than to give it to somebody and the bark falls out. But you can see all the figure on the inside. Look at that, and that's before sanding. So there is all that curl up there on the top. And let's see if I can picture it good. Right there's some more curl right here. All this right here. On the inside, this whole area right here is just filled with curl and a little bit of quilt. I think there's a little bit of quilt right there. And a little bit of quilt right over here. Not much, just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back on, and I'm going to attempt to sand it. Now the problem with sanding something with a hole is if I push too hard, I'll get my finger caught in there and then snap my finger. I don't want to do that because I like all my fingers. But we're going to go ahead and try it and see. If the sandpaper starts to catch, I won't do it. But sometimes I can do it without a problem. I'm just going to slow the lathe down a little bit so I can sand. So we'll see, and if not, I'll have to get my tools out and sand offline and show it to you later. But we'll try 120, see how that works. I don't know if I'm going to sand this by hand. my finger actually got caught here on the side, not on the not in the middle. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and sand this with my drill. I have a drill sand bit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to turn the back and so you guys can see that part. And then I will go ahead and sand it and take the nice pictures and put them up on the internet. So this bowl is going to be for sale. I don't know what I would price it with. A bowl like this would normally go $90 to $100 because of all the features in it. So if anyone is interested in it, let me know. Otherwise, it's just going to go to one of my shows. Or if no one wants it, maybe I'll keep it. It depends on how the figuring looks once I'm done with it. So that will be an approximate price. But I want to make sure it gets finished before I actually put it up for sale. I want to make sure I can sand it good enough on the inside. Let's see, I might have to adjust all these pins. Yeah, I gotta readjust all them. Alright, so as I'm doing that, any fun quarantine stories anyone has? Where is my tool? Oh. I started a kitchen remodel my wife wanted to do in our old house. Our house is over 100 years old, and it was wallpaper on top of plaster. If anyone has a house like that, it's not actually not that hard to do. Someone gave me a tip about using vinegar in water, and I put a little bit of Dawn detergent in it, or I don't know if it was Dawn, just dishwashing detergent, and you spray it on in a spray bottle, let it soak, and the wallpaper pretty much comes right off. It wasn't that difficult. But now the hard part is going to be repairing all the plaster and then repainting it. But we have this interesting thing in my kitchen. My wife and I are arguing about it right now. Well, not really arguing, but our bathroom takes up a certain amount of wall space, and then we have a small little pantry that takes up a certain amount of wall space. But in between the bathroom and the pantry, there is a 2.5 foot section of wall that I think is empty. And I think there used to be a fireplace there. We don't have any pictures to show that there was a fireplace there, but I do know that the chimney goes up to our bedroom, which is right above the kitchen, and then it goes out to the roof. So I asked my wife what she would say if she came home one day and there was accidentally a wall that had a hole in it. She wasn't too happy about that. So I have to try and figure out what was actually in that wall, because I'm really, really curious now as to what that empty space is between the bathroom and the pantry. Okay. So we're going to turn this little knob off the back, and then I'm going to sand it by hand. Well, my finger hurts. Okay, because there's a hole in this ball, as it turns, it wants to lift off. So I might have to readjust this a couple of times. This bowl just moved about 1/4 of an inch as I was trying to get the bottom off. And if I don't catch it right away, it'll just take off like a frisbee. Because the air is coming in this hole here through the middle, and it's just pulling off the bowl. So I'm going to get this bottom off pretty quick. lift it off again. It really lifted off that time. Yeah, this is one of those weird things. Doesn't happen all the time. And I have another tool that I could use to hold the bottom on, but I'm at the very final stage, so I just want to smooth this out a little bit. So another 15 seconds is all I need. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and sand the bottom of this. And then we're going to call this done for now, although I have to sand the inside. right. Let me put some oil on the bottom of that so you can see, because there's some nice, there's a little, remember the feather I was talking about in the very beginning that I was hoping would show up? There's just a really little bit of it right here. It didn't go through the rest of the wood. So I want to show you that. I was really wishing that feather would go through the whole thing, but I think there's enough figure with everything else. No feather would be okay. All right, so let me take this off and take the tape off and show you all the figure. And this is why I bought that tree. If you remember when I told you in the very beginning about the tree I bought, it's for wood like this is the reason I paid $100 for the tree, even though it was all hollow on the inside. All right. The one thing I love about Mount Joy, where I live, for those of you who don't live here, we have a community compost area. And I take all my sawdust and wood scraps there. So if you're in Mount Joy and you're getting mulch, chances are you may have gotten part of one of my bowls. And if it's beautiful mulch, then you did get part of my bowl. Okay, so let me go ahead and shine up the outside and show you what the outside looks like. Now remember, the inside isn't sanded yet because of the hole. I didn't want to ruin my finger, although I did hit my finger. Okay, so let me show you the beautifulness of this. Okay, so turn this light off. Okay, so here's the outside of the bowl. This is, again, cherry burl. There's a crack that I was worried about a lot. And on the inside, you'll see if I would have gone further, the crack was here all the way over to here. So I didn't want to go any further. This is about 1/4 of an inch thick. A little bit thicker on the bottom. A little bit, just over 1/4 inch. On the sides, it's about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so on the outside, you'll see, if I can show it to you, all this figure that's on the outside. Look at how nice that is. And then here comes some curl. And again, curl is when the grain is going this way, but then you see this figure going perpendicular to it. And then this area here, I'd say that's curl. I thought it might be a little bit of quilt, but I think it's more curl. Quilt is when it looks like water, and we don't have any of that. Except on the inside we might. So there's some outside. There's some more curl in heartwood. So there is like curl all over this bowl. It is gorgeous. And some bark inclusions. This bark inclusion I'm probably going to poke out, so this is going to be a hole. You can see there's some bark there, bark here. I'm going to poke it out. This one will be a hole. This one doesn't go through the bowl. Some of these little ones, like this one, will go through the bowl. That'll be a hole. Let's see. These little ones, this one will be a hole. This one right here will be a hole. Goes through. And then on the bottom, I want to show you that, what am I calling it? Feathering. So right here is one branch, and right here is another branch. Right here in the middle is this figure called feathering, where the wood kind of looks like it was pulled apart a little bit. I was hoping that would be all through the bottom, but it's really just, I mean, all through the inside, but it's really just in this little space on the bottom. So I'm going to be pulling all this bark out. And then again, this is the inside. It's not sanded yet, but I'm going to go ahead and sand it and then polish it up. And you can see the quilt coming through right here, all this quilt. And in the bottom, you can kind of see a little bit of feathering right here in the middle. There's some feathering, but it's tough to see until it gets sanded. But you can see all the, let's see, take you to that place where there's a little bit of curl. Right there you can see the curl on this end, right over here. And that's without being sanded. That's just right in the wood. So this bowl, again, is going to be for sale. I'll put it up once I get all the inside sanded and take some nice pictures and put it on the internet. Like I said, this bowl normally would be about $90 to $100. So if anyone is interested in it, let me know. If not, I might keep it, or I might take it to a show and then sell it there. This is, again, one of the last pieces I have from the tree that I bought. So the next time I do a video, I think I'm actually going to do this piece that broke 2 of my bandsaw blades. So I'm going to figure out if I can take that screw out, if I could dig in there, or if I just want to ruin one of my tools and have to resharpen it during the show. Little worried, this one's got a big crack right there. It's a starburst crack. So I might do that, or I might do this spalted beech, which is really cool. Got a lot of figure in it. Has some really nice coloring in it as well. So maybe we'll do some of that. So we'll see when my next show is. Maybe this week sometime I'll do another one. Or I have this piece of apple, but I have to wait for my bandsaw blades because I have to cut it out. So this is a piece of apple that I had left over, and it's got curl in it. So it's really hard to find apple with curl. At least I haven't been able to find too much of it. But this has curl in it, so this would be a really, really cool piece. So maybe we'll do that. This has a bark inclusion at the top, so this would be like an area that is not in the bowl. This would be a little void. So maybe we'll do that. We'll see. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I always have fun doing these. I hope you guys had fun watching it. Do you guys have any questions at all before I sign off? And if not, I'm going to go ahead and say see ya until the next time. So thanks for tuning in, and let me experiment with my brand new internet in the garage. I ran a Cat 6 cable 190 feet from my house to my barn. And I drilled through a wooden fence so my wife wouldn't see it. But now I have 100 megabyte or almost 200 megabyte internet in the garage. So I could do a whole lot of videos like this. So I can't wait to do more. So thanks again. I'll see you guys until next time. Stay safe.